Guru Nation, welcome to another episode of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. Anybody can text me 949-415-6256. You can also email me Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. You can also text the word guru to 31996. You won't be disappointed. We give away CRA Academy scholarships, $4,000 value. CRC Academy scholarships, $3,000 value. You want to be on that email list on the blog, theclinicaltrialsguru.com, and you want to be on the VIP text list. So text the word guru, Guru, to 31996. So, got a good question today from somebody who is a CRA and they want to know how to start their own CRO. So I'm going to kind of explain how I did it. Um, a lot of you have been following my story, but there's always new people, I understand, that come on and, wonder how did you start a CRO. And first of all, let me preface this with, if you are looking for big bucks, CRO is not the way to go, at least initially. Until you have scale, the big bucks won't come until you get to scalability, which means you can do multiple projects at the same time without you yourself necessarily being involved. So when you're starting out a CRO, the best way to start out is to bootstrap it. And the first question I asked this person was, what are you? Are you a CRA? Because they want to start a CRO. And I have a lot of people asking me this that have no experience in research, and I always tell them the same thing. Hey, starting a CRO is really difficult. I would start a site first and then transition into a CRO. But this person's already a CRA, so they can do one of the biggest tasks or one of the biggest aspects of what CROs do, which is monitor studies. Now, hopefully you can hear me if I drop the mic. I'm using a different ad set today. So, if you are a CRA, you already know, and this person's been a CRA, I'm not going to give away the company that they work for, but basically I am tired of working for the middleman, CRO. I want to know what I can do to be the CRO. First of all, I thought of becoming a CRO is overwhelming. It is. But I know this fact, if others can do it, so can I. How can I break into the industry? How can I get started? Do you start off with a few things and add to it as you get bigger? Yes. How can I get the contracts from pharmaceutical companies? So let me do what I can, okay? And this person said they have already told 2 friends that I am the coolest guy, and I have also referred some to your CRA Academy. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And 2 of them have taken the academy and more to come. I appreciate this very much. So, okay, let me give you the scenario. So, there is the how do I start a CRO for the inexperienced crowd, which is people that they have no experience in clinical research. My advice to them would simply be don't do it. Start a site. Getting a site is much more practical, and it does put you one step closer towards starting your CRO if you want. I will go that route first, just briefly, and then I will go the route that I took, which, I kind of did both of these things, but the route that I'm on now with experience. So first, the inexperienced route, you have no idea anything about research, but you want to start a CRO because maybe you see IQVIA stock price and you okay, I want to go IPO also. Or maybe you just hear from your monitoring friends, how big their company is. So it's very attractive for you to want to consider starting a CRO. Don't. Start the site first. First of all, the CRO space is way more competitive than the site space. Think about all the studies that are going on right now. There's probably 100,000 enrolling and not yet enrolling studies in the world. Each of those studies may not even need a CRO, okay? I would say about 80% of them do use one CRO for those studies. Now take those same studies, okay? 80% of those studies are multi-site studies, meaning multiple sites. I would say half of those studies are 20 sites or more. So it's a lot less competitive to be a research site than it is to be a CRO. I mean, it's just supply and demand, right? There is less competition as a CRO, but there's only one that the sponsor is going to choose, if any. Sometimes they don't even choose any. Sometimes the sponsor just does the CRO work themselves in-house, which is actually increasingly more common since the 2016 GCP revisions. So if you are brand new to research, you want to go the site route first. So start a site, much more practical. You find a doctor. We have videos and webinars on how to start a site, but I'm going to give you it in like a minute. You find a physician with a healthy private practice. You get them to agree to want to be your principal investigator. You start applying for studies from clinicaltrials.gov under that PICV and your new company name. And you start bringing in studies in that physician's office. Okay? Do this for a couple years. You're going to get to start going to conferences, start going to investigator meetings, start networking with different people at investigator meetings. You are eventually going to get to know people at the sponsor level who are not just in charge of selecting sites, but also of selecting CROs and vendors for their studies. So if you're now an established site, one route you can go is go the phase 1 route. So start a phase 1 clinic and start one maybe for healthy volunteers or at least first in human studies. And then now you're even one step closer to being a CRO because you're dealing with sponsors at the very early stages of their study. Obviously, it's phase 1. And oftentimes, these sponsors would consider using you as a site and a CRO. I know many companies that use this model. They're the phase 1 site and the CRO, and they have a way of keeping the departments separate so there's no conflict. So this is one route to go. Okay, that's for the research naive route. Okay, now for this person who's been a CRA for I assume quite some time, you can also go that route of starting a site. I think it might actually be better than just going out and starting a CRO, going this exact same route I just outlined. The reason why I think it might be better is you don't need to quit your CRA job to go this route of starting a site and then working your way backwards to phase 1 and then getting to know some of these sponsors and people in charge of getting studies. An alternative route is put your CV, your resume, so tweak your resume, and even if you're working for somebody right now, you're working for a big CRO, I'm assuming you're a W-2 employee, you want to start your own LLC on the side, just like it would be Dan Sfera LLC. I don't actually have that one, but your name, LLC. So now you are a company. So now on your CV, you want to put Dan Sfera LLC or your name LLC, and then from it's July, so July 2020 till present. And underneath that, you put independent contractor, CRA specializing in clin ops. Because that's really, as a CRA, that's the only thing you know right now. So that's the only thing you could ethically advertise yourself as. And you put this CV out on LinkedIn. I know it's going to be weird with your employer also maybe seeing it, so I don't know, you got to figure out how you're going to respond to that. If they ask you, you can say, yeah, I take on consulting gigs on the side. I don't know if your contract restricts you from doing that. This is the route I would go. This is the route I actually went, even though I started sites. I did put my CV out there because I was a contractor and I was a consultant, and I started getting hired to do monitoring gigs. And then the more monitoring gigs I got as a contractor, the more I was attracting these smaller CROs and smaller biotechs to hire me for their projects. Usually it was to hire me to monitor, but then it evolved into, hey, can you also write a protocol? Can you design a study? Can you put us in touch with biostats? Do you have biostats? Can you put us in touch with EDC vendors? Do you have these connections? So you want to start networking with a lot of people. So this is something I know you can do working for a big CRO, is you can ask them if you can attend conferences, and they'll usually pay for it. So maybe 1 or 2 conferences a year, although this year, with COVID and all that, I don't think there are any conferences. But you can do a lot of virtual networking, which is not the same, in my opinion. But you can start networking. So when times get back to normal, start networking again at conferences. But basically, you want to learn as much as you can and meet as many people as possible that have skills and competencies in areas of research that you don't. So if you're a CRA, and if you're an experienced CRA, you're probably really good at ClinOps. So everything from site selection to site initiation to monitoring the source documents to looking at the regulatory to closing out sites to doing IP accountability, all the monitoring stuff and lead monitoring stuff and probably even project management stuff you can do. All right. Now, there's a lot more to being a CRO than just that. But if you're starting out, you can start out just offering those services and then partnering with another CRO, maybe mine, but there's others out there too, that do have expertise in biostats. Biostats is a huge one. Every single CRO project that I bid for, they ask, do you have biostats? Do you have EDC vendors? Do you have sites ready to go? Thankfully, my CRO specializes in bringing up research naive sites into our network, and then now we have established experienced sites in our network, so we can get feasibility questionnaires done quickly. You're probably not going to have that as a CRA, so you better start networking like crazy on LinkedIn. You better start working on your personal brand. Don't ignore me when I'm telling you to start working on your personal brand online. Yes, I know you want to start a business. That's good. You can start your business brand as well. Or better yet, you and your business brand could be the same thing. I have a Patreon channel set up just for this. It's $5 a month. I do weekly video tips. Matter of fact, after this podcast, I'm going to go film a 2 to 5 minute Patreon because I give weekly tips on how to build your brand and leverage social media like crazy so you could get noticed, so you could get attention, so you could get leads. You want to get to the point where you get so many leads coming to you that you're actually happy when people say no. Because that's the point I'm at right now. When potential CRA Academy students tell me that they don't want to do the class, I'm okay with that because that's one less phone call I need to do. So I have the leads, I have the pipeline full. With the CRO, I don't have the pipeline as full, but I am getting tons of boutique sponsors and CROs at least being interested in how do we do this, how do we design this study, what do we need to do. So you got to get experience in all this stuff, but you also at the same time have to present yourself and your brand to the community, to the life sciences community. So you've got to be on LinkedIn, you've got to be posting regularly, videos, you should have a podcast, you should have a YouTube channel, you should write articles on LinkedIn, you should have a blog and attached to your website, all this stuff. So that's a shameless plug for my Patreon channel. The patrons there are doing big things. We have monthly master meetings as well. It's just $5 a month. That's it. $5 a month. You get weekly videos on branding because I don't want to put those videos on YouTube or the podcast because they're more business oriented. And you get the monthly mastermind where me and everyone else meet virtually and we discuss what we're working on and strategies and tools and things like that. So shameless plug, check that out. But you got to work on your brand. At the same time, you've got to network with people who know other things, and this is how you're going to attract them, right? By setting up your brand. Hey, I want to interview you. You're a biostatistician. I want to interview you. They're all going to say yes because they want to increase their clout and their brand. Hopefully you refer them to Patreon as well. And then slowly you're starting to build a network. You're starting to network, so now you're filling in the missing pieces that you don't have. Remember, as a CRA, you probably already have ClinOps down. So lead CRA, regular CRA, in-house CRA, finding sites, activating sites, study startup, all that stuff you have. You may not have contracts and budgets, but you can network. This is where actually my company, DSCS, we're really good at this, so we can help you out with that as well. There's people on there. There's people out there on LinkedIn that specialize in and are dying to meet you, but they just don't know you because you don't have a brand. So you need to do that. You need a network. You need to learn what you can't do. So I've already identified things that you can't do. Budgets and contracts. You're going to need help with that. You're going to need to learn how to do bid defenses. So when a sponsor is interested in you as a CRO, now if you have your brand, okay, if you have enough brand equity, they're not even going to send you an RFP. They're just going to say, we're going to use your company because we like you and because we want to work with you because you're boutique and we're boutique as well. So your first clients are probably going to be small biotechs, maybe even investigator-initiated studies. I'm doing 3 of those right now, investigator-initiated studies. 2 of them are multi-center, 1 is not. But you know what? One of them is in collaboration with a big sponsor. And the results of that study look promising. So we're probably going to do a big phase 2 study, and guess who's going to be the CRO for that? So that's years in the making, by the way. So I started out boutique with doing what I know, and then I brought in people like biostatisticians, like data management. Luckily, I already knew contract and budget. And then I had relationships with all the vendors. And you need to start doing this yourself too, going to conferences, whether virtually or in person when they open back up. And then I can't say it enough, build your personal brand. Work on your personal brand. It is everything. It's going to be everything to you. It's going to be the foundation. So that's how you start. You start small. You start by putting your CV out there. You actually start by getting in business for yourself first. So you can go the route of owning a site, like I said, or you can go the route of putting yourself out there as a contractor. And so your name, LLC, you're now open for business as an independent contractor doing ClinOps, and you could list all the stuff I said: startup, site selection, regulatory, intern monitoring visits, everything you do, everything that I know you're not going to have problems doing. Now, once you start getting a project for that, okay, you're going to start getting called on by small CROs and small biotechs or medical device companies or small sponsors. Anytime you get contacted by a big CRO, you're probably not going to want that contract because you already have a position, even though you'll probably get paid more as a contractor. So you still might want to take it because you're going to be getting paid more. But you're probably not looking for that because they're not looking to hire you to collaborate with you, right? You really want those small companies, whether they're CROs like mine or small sponsors, that are looking for people just like you because they can't afford IQVIA. They can't afford these big CROs, but they still need help because they don't even know the first thing about monitoring. They don't know the first thing about a monitoring report. They may not even really know that much about GCP and how it pertains to monitoring and running a study. So you have that. So you want to attract those gigs, even if they're just contracts. You want to start taking those on, then start doing a good job for them, and then they'll let you know if they like you, what they need help with. Hey, we have future study. Do you want to do this? And then you could start building a relationship with them. I actually did this a few times until I started getting CRO work, right? Which CRO work is different from monitoring contracts, but not that much different, right? So CRO work entails everything from even protocol design, study design, protocol writing. So we have medical writers now that thankfully can write a protocol, because though I've done a synopsis, Chris and myself have done a synopsis, and I mean it's definitely challenging. The next phase of my career, I need to learn more about study design and things like that, biostats. And although I don't want to be a biostatistician, I'd rather hire them, and they are expensive. But I'd rather hire them because the sponsor is going to pay for it. But I do want to learn more about study design and writing protocols and things like that. So you're going to need to start networking with these people, and then you're going to need to, the vendors will come to you. But what you want to do is get on a good relationship with the vendors, which again is why your personal brand is important. If you start a little video thing or a little question and answer thing on LinkedIn, I mean, LinkedIn and Facebook really is where you want to be for this kind of stuff. So don't ignore your personal brand. That's the route I would go. Start small, start with what you know, let it grow organically. Okay, you're still going to get paid for it. You're probably going to get paid more being a contractor than being a W-2 employee. I guarantee you, if you've been a CRA for 5 or more years, you put your CV out there, people are going to come at you because you're a contractor. And so you can start building a relationship with these small sponsors. And guess what happens with small sponsors? Some of them become big sponsors. And you can grow with them and build your CRO as you're growing and as you're building your personal brand. Don't ignore that part. And that's how I did it. That's how I am still doing it. And that's how I think you should be doing it. Either going that route or going the site route, or maybe both. You can maybe do both routes too. I don't know which one's better. I think it depends on the individual. I think for me it's hard to say because I started at the site level, and I'm still not out of the site world. I mean, I have the site network, so that's now part of our CRO. That's part of our competitive advantage, is having this growing site network. And also, obviously, the Guru brand and all that is now part of our competitive advantage. But basically, choose one of those routes, or do both, or do a little combination of the two, and make it appropriate for yourself. I don't know much about your employment agreement with your CRO, but I know that many people would want to have you if they were to get upset. And I know the contract route is much better pay, and you can kind of work on your own terms. And it puts you one step closer to the CRO route, and never stop learning. So learn study design, and learn biostats, and learn how to network with people, and learn how to build your personal brand, and just start talking to more people about clinical research, especially smaller sponsors, especially smaller CROs. You could start collaborating with them. Our first project as a CRO, we white labeled another CRO's work. So sometimes you'll get like these mid-sized CROs that get so many projects, but they're not fully scalable yet. Like they're not scaled to the point where, like, especially when they're these cheap projects that they don't really want, so they're not going to put their best CRAs on that project. What they will do is they will white label to an even smaller CRO like mine. This is how I got started. And so what white labeling means is they're the CRO to the sponsor, and then they outsource the work to us. You know, the work that we're comfortable doing. At that time, it was just clin ops, like I mentioned. And then, but everything's done under their brand. So we're just working, but we're not really known by anyone. Even the sites know us as just contractors for the actual CRO. But you can get started that way, because then you'll start learning the process, and you'll start seeing their SOPs and learning how you could develop your own SOPs. Maybe you can even see their bid defenses. But you want to get to the point where you don't need a bid defense, because the sponsor likes you so much they're just going to want to work with you because you're exactly who they want. So this is how I did it. This is how I'm still doing it. And how these two ways, or any combination of, are the ways that you can do it as well. Hopefully that helps answer your question. Hopefully I see more of you guys on my Patreon channel as I'm growing that this year. And hopefully this helps. Let me know, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.